live your best life.
Alright, so one of the first videos I want to go over is the concept of free will versus fate, or predestination and free will. And drew a couple different ideas of what that could be. So with free will, it would be these colors, kind of like you could take all these different routes and be red all the way through, or orange all the way to purple or pink, and that would be more of like a free will sort of thing. But predestination would be the black dots, like just there is no choice. It's all just meant to be. It's like a movie that's already got the script. It's already been played out. You're just living it now, versus having the complete options to do whatever you want with this lifetime. Now, I believe that there's more than likely it's a mix of both, which is what I'm showcasing here. And from what science has determined too, is we have from 0 to 7 years. It's a YRS, bad handwriting, but yeah, 0 to 7 years. We're just a subconscious, so we're basically at alpha and theta brain waves until we reach around 7, where we gain our conscious and analytical minds within. It doesn't mean we gain our consciousness. We're always conscious because we are energy, but we gain our conscious mind and analytical mind by raising up to beta waves within the brain. And that's when we start thinking critically and analytically and, having our own opinions of things instead of just being a sponge. So I believe that this is very much predestination. This is kind of like Skyrim or D&D or any other sort of character building thing. Like, we decide the backstory here ahead of time, part of the soul plan. Now, we most likely also decide very specific events that we want to happen in our life to kind of form this journey that we're trying to have in this lifetime, and then in between we can kind of choose what wavelength we're on, what path we do take, but we will end up at these same places. So Bashar ends up talking about it like a hallway. Life, we, like me as this person, is a hallway, Aiden Foster, but within it I can open all the doors or keep all the doors closed or run up the walls and do whatever I want within it and just go whatever I want. But this is the hallway. It's going to have to happen. Some of these major things are going to happen along the way, and I think a better explanation would be like a train. These are kind of like stops. You can kind of do whatever you want at the stops, but at some point it's got to depart to the next part, and you can't get to here without getting here first. So you have to learn these lessons and go through these things in order to build yourself up into the person that can handle these things, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how that works. And also you can think of it in terms of wavelength or frequency. So on the ultraviolet scale, red is a much slower wave frequency, but it has a longer, bigger wavelength. And purple or violet is the opposite. It's much higher frequency, but a shorter wavelength. So if you think of it in terms of chakras and such as well, which coincide well with the ultraviolet scale, we can be in a lower vibe throughout our lives, and we could take that path of the red path, just kind of being a victim mentality and upset at life and upset at ourselves, and just take the hard road for some points. But other times we might actually be able to access higher vibes of excitement and joy and passion and love and all these things, and that's when it'll shift a little bit. So I feel like we tend to start more in a high vibe. As a kid, we're more naturally more imaginary and creative and all these things. Like, we haven't been conditioned to be upset with ourselves or upset with life and all these things, so we're usually in a higher vibe, and that's why most kids are said to be more like clairvoyant and such, just more in touch with spirit. And then we could develop into negative beliefs and things like that throughout maybe teenage years or 20s, things like that. And so we'll shift from the purple path to the red path, or somewhere close to that. You get the drift. And then our job, though, is to make our way back to the higher vibes, and by understanding life and how to manifest consciously and how to be in love with ourselves, be back in love with life, and think more in a child kind of mentality as opposed to this adult world that we've all been like conditioned into thinking like, oh yeah, everything's supposed to be hard, and like money's hard and relationships are hard, and we're supposed to suffer in order to accomplish things, and that's not the way it's supposed to be at all. It's just what's been drilled into us to keep us down in that low vibe, to feel separated and all these things. So back to free will and all that. So yeah, I just think this is one model of it where basically it's predestination with free will kind of in between. And I'll show you another version of how else I believe it could be. All right, so another way to look at this, instead of it being predestination with free will in between it, some people explain it as same sort of thing. We're pretty much stuck on knowing that this has got to be some sort of predestination because it's our subconscious. Like, we don't have any real free will as kids as much. It's, we just don't have a analytical and conscious mind going on. But anyways, instead of it being free will within predestination, it could be predestination within free will and like shifting timelines sort of thing. I've seen this explained different ways. So, maybe you start as a kid, pretty high vibe, and then you could shift at any time to another place. You could come down low, and this is not only like in a long term, but also even a daily thing. Some people's daily looks, up and down and stuff, but really we're constantly shifting timelines based on our emotions. So if our highest emotions are up here, kind of crown chakra representative, or emotional spiral, kind of uses the same sort of chakra colors. Yeah, we could be shifting timelines just based on our emotions. And I think that's a good indicator. Our emotions really help us quantify or see like our navigation of whether or not it's aligned, whatever we're doing, whatever we're experiencing is aligned with what we want in life, or if it's not aligned. Either way, it's positive because it's helping you get back on track to your dharma, to your purpose, to what is aligned. Even the negative things can help you see like, oh, well, I don't want that, so now I better know, I have a better understanding of what I do want. So yeah, this could be it, basically like shifting timelines like this constantly. So within each one, it has like its own parameters of this is what's going to happen if you're on this vibe constantly. And if you're on this vibe, this is what's going to happen. And then we just shift those timelines constantly. So it'll end up being different predestined things based on our vibe, on our emotions, or on the trajectory that we're going, based on what we're deciding, like our actions, which our actions are decided via or by way of our thoughts and emotions. So, thoughts and feelings. So yeah, I think it's one of these two different ways. I think it is a combo of free will and predestination. Whichever chart makes more sense to you works. But yeah, I really don't think it's one or the other. And honestly, if it is one or the other, I'm fine with that, because if it's all predestined, if it's all a movie, it's all scripted out for us, and we have no choice whatsoever, which neuroscientists that's their newest conclusion. We'll put this down real quick. Their newest conclusion, based on brainwaves and then like the EEG that they hook up, they see that thoughts kind of happen in the brain before you even speak it out and stuff like that. So they're convinced that basically whatever thought comes in was already, like, it's not something that you made, it was kind of given to you. So not only is it all predestined in a way, but it's all kind of pre-programmed, and we're very predictable because of our beliefs and our patterns, our habits, things like that. So if you look at our patterns, then you could kind of, we're actually very predictable when it comes to what's going to happen next. What would we do in this situation? And if you think about that sort of thing, what would I do in this situation? You kind of, even just theoretically, you tend to kind of know at least what you think you would do. I mean, certain things that are pushing your limits, you might think that you're gonna, jump in front of a bullet or something, but when the time comes, it's like, nope, I'm gonna flee. But for the most part, I think we kind of know, or at least we can predict what we would do in certain situations. So yeah, just kind of follow that. So if if that is the case, and I know that seems really gloom, the fact that we would have no free will, it feels like we're stuck, and like, it sucks not having choice or any kind of um, control over your life. That would kind of, it can make you feel small. It can make you feel like, oh, well, what am I doing here then? What's the point of it all? But if it's all predestined, then that means that this story was made for you. It was made for you. So all these things that you don't like in life, again, it's just showing you what you do like in life. Like, it's all just a beautiful story, because every movie, every story that there is, it's got to have low points in order to appreciate the highs. That's what makes a good story, is the up and downs within. There's no movie that's just all up. That's boring. And all down would be too gloomy. Like, nobody would want to watch that either. So there's ups and downs, and it's all part of learning lessons, expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. So if it's all predestined, then I can be happy with that and excited, because I know that I wrote this movie, this whole script, for myself, and you should know the same. And it's going to be an awesome one, and that's why we're living it right now in this timeline. So, but the other side of the coin, if it's all free will, then you might be a little nervous about, like, oh, so it's all up to me. That could be the downside of complete free will with no predestination. They're like, well, it's all up to me. So, like, what if I make the wrong choices and such? Well, I mean, you have all the choices. You can change it at any time, which I believe that's part of the real reality anyways. You do have the option to shift those timelines, or to pick the certain path, like I was showing. Um, but all the black dots are things that you want, things that need to happen for this lifetime that you wanted to experience, part of your soul plan. So it's all beautiful stuff. It's none of this fate or free will has to be gloomy or scary or upsetting or feeling like you have no control and all these things. It's all a beautiful thing regardless. And I don't know if we'll ever figure out how reality truly works. Again, I'm pretty sure that we've figured out that it is a combo of the two, but either way, it's all beautiful. It's all happy. It's all positive. It's all good stuff, And life supposedly has no meaning. We're the ones that give it meaning through our perception. So, any kind of situation that happens to us, we could see it as a negative thing, or we could see it as a positive thing. It's up to us. Thank you, with all of my heart, for watching. Subscribe to explore more spiritual techniques, inspiring interviews, and powerful meditations. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time.